Good evening and welcome to FTB Sports. This is the post-match reaction show for the game Marine versus Spurs FA Cup third round tie. And as you can see across the bottom, the score line 5-0 to the Spurs. And we have our guests on today, as usual, Mike, Darius and Nigel. Good evening, guys. How are we doing?
Good. Right, I'm seeing Marine 2 Spurs 0 on my one.
Oh, dear me. Look at that. Look at that.
I was going to say that would have been a lot worse. A lot worse.
That's probably like the most exciting thing that's happened. I'll change that as we just do this now. But I'll start with you, Mike. You come to me and you tell me what you thought of the game whilst I correct this error that is highly embarrassing.
Thoughts on the game. I think it is what it is, isn't it? I think it was just a case of just getting that first goal to settle. I suppose if there was any nerves, it settles the nerves down quite well. I don't think we can take any performances away. Sort of that would scream. I suppose that they deserve. Well, maybe apart from Dele Alli, I thought he played exceptionally well tonight. I thought he was looking well up for it. But other than that, I wouldn't say there was anyone else really that was sort of screaming to have a starting place in the first 11. Yeah, I think it was just a professional job. We did what we came to do: get the win, come out unscathed, no players injured. Everyone managed to, or the vast majority managed to get minutes under their belts. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing much to say. So, given the result, and I think the result obviously was a foregone conclusion. I know there was a little bit of excitement at the beginning, but I'll come to you, Darius. As I said, the result was foregone conclusion. What did you think of the actual performance from Spurs? Was it professional? Was it job done?
It was very mature performance, and I think, like I said, I personally think you can't take anything away from this game. I think the only person that could probably take something away is Alfie Devine, because he scored. He's the youngest Spurs scorer now. Scored in his debut. It was a good goal, so I think he can be proud of himself. But really and truly, as soon as I saw about 10-15 minutes into this game, I started to get a little bit angry because I was thinking, how have we not scored yet? And when I think that, and then when I see the quality that we're playing against, it's like you can't really. I know players had a good performance, but that's a one-off game. That is we call Leeds a one-off game. That is really a one-off game. You're not going to play teams of that quality probably for the rest of the season, maybe next season, the season after. So I think I think Alfie Devine can take a pride in his goal. I think he did well, but as a whole, Tottenham, solid performance. But what else do you really expect?
Yeah, when at the end of the game, they are celebrating, hitting the crossbar. That tells me everything you need to know about this game. You know what I mean? That's the only highlight they really had. And I know it's kind of difficult. So, you know, it's a no-win situation for Spurs, as I've mentioned before. You know, you go out and you beat them 6, 7, 8. Well, you should be. You've got 9 internationals starting. It's a close game, 2 or 3. Oh, well, Spurs are not all that now. You know, there's nothing in that. If they'd have scored, it would have been a bit of an embarrassment. So, Nigel, in terms of the performance, was that an expected result for you?
Yeah, it was absolutely expected. To be honest, if I wasn't doing this, I probably wouldn't have even watched it. Honestly, it was
it's literally a nothing game, isn't it? It's really. Oh gosh!
I think a Spurs player has just zoomed past them. You're just like, the difference in levels here is just.
Sissoko's that Spurs player zooming past him. Sissoko.
Yeah. It was quite clear how it was going to go. I mean, you can't be surprised by anything that happened in that game. A lot of time on the ball, giving guys time to pick passes. It was just a bit too easy.
For me, it took. I wrote down some notes, and I started writing notes, and I thought, you know what, I shouldn't even really be doing this. This is not an analysis that I should really be having to make. But I thought, you know, at the start of the game, I saw Moore running with the ball, thinking Moore thinks he's like a Welby. He thinks he's Messi now. But then I had to like temper that and think he's playing Marine. Yeah. You know, he's running through them because they can be beaten just by, you know, somebody dropping the shoulder, the pace, everything like that. So, you know, it's a game that. Again, there's nothing to write home about. what I can say about it, it was, as you've all probably mentioned, it was professional. It was job done. It was get it over the line. Let's now move on to the next game on Wednesday, and let's just see who played, who did well, who could kind of say to themselves, "Yeah, I had a good performance." I was glad that there was no Kane on the bench. I was glad there was no Højbjerg. I was a bit surprised that Son was in there. But I'll come to you on some of them. What did you actually think of the way that Marine approached the game? Darius, I'll come to you first on that one.
Were you really paying attention to Marine? I mean, I wasn't really paying attention. I mean, I guess you can say that at the start of the game, they were a little bit more intense than they were. But at the end of the day, like 20 minutes in a game, everybody, like even when I was a kid, 20 minutes, you're 100% going to be going for it. And then starts to show the quality later on into the game. But I'd say in the second half, they were being a little bit dirty. I was going to say they were throwing in a few challenges that as expected from an 8th division team. But honestly, I can't lie to you. I don't even remember any of their names or their players because I just wasn't paying attention to them. I just wanted to get it over the line. I was thinking about no players are injured for Wednesday. That's the main thing for me.
Yeah. What was interesting for me was when they started saying like the manager, he's a facilities manager, he's got to go back to work on Monday. And then they were saying something like one of their midfielders or somebody, oh, we can't always make certain games or certain training because he works on shift. So it's just funny. It's funny because there's nothing else that I could really look at them from their perspective and say, oh, that was this and he was that. As I said,
I will say though, the atmosphere of the stadium and having like all the houses and all the people who are literally sat in their back garden watching a game of football, I thought that was quite cool. I thought that was probably the best part of that game. That was very enjoyable. But
proper
yeah, that was proper good vibes. But apart from that, I can't really say much. So,
Nigel, did you see anything in the first 20 minutes that caused you any real concern about the result or even the performance?
I mean, they had a shot obviously that hit the crossbar, but like I said, there wasn't a lot to be worried about. You knew quite quickly the difference in levels. It was a one-off shot, but you still knew the result wasn't really in doubt personally.
Yeah. And I'll come to you, Mike. Your favourite player, Sissoko, looked like a worldie today, didn't he?
Do you know what? To be fair to him, he had a decent game.
I'm sweating here.
To be fair to him, he had a mature game. He just sat in there, did what he needed to do. It almost felt it didn't. From Spurs' perspective, did it feel like an FA Cup game? It's questionable, but it might have almost seemed a bit more like a training match towards the end. But I thought so. The only person that I don't want to, I suppose, criticise any of the players because we got a 5-0 win. We kept a clean sheet and stuff, and we through to the next round. But I'd have thought some of the lads that came in, I thought they would have wanted to express themselves, to show them what they. Even though they are playing Marine, you can only beat what's in front of you, right? So I would have thought players like Jedson would have tried to express himself perhaps a bit more than what he did.
I thought his decision
making was pretty poor at times.
Yeah, I think he maybe expressed himself a little bit too much.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I think he should have just played the simple passes and done.
Well, this is what I was coming. This is what I was coming to. So his decision making in the passing, like there was a couple of occasions whereby I think he had Bale in the second half. I think he had Bale to his right who was free, and he didn't choose that option, and it just went into nothing. But he's technically he's a tidy player, but it's just his decision making and I thought he gave a ball a couple of times when it was just needless. But yeah, as we've said already, there's not much we can really take away from this.
Okay.
I can't see. I was just going to say I can't see Jedson going any further in the first team. I can see why he's not been playing much. So
no.
Yeah, Jedson I think was just given this lifeline from Jose to say, "Here you go, son. Have a go at this. If you can show me anything, maybe I'll have a rethink." But I don't even think he's done that. I don't think he has certainly they were talking about him ending his loan spell earlier anyway. I think it's probably just sealed it for me. He doesn't need to stay any longer. I'll ask you all this question as well, but I want Nigel to come to me first on the answer. So Dele was subbed today at about 63rd minute. He probably, again, I'm having to temper back. He played well today against limited opposition. He looked like he was enjoying himself. Because of the fact that he was subbed and we didn't have someone like Jedson taken off, does Dele Alli have a future at Spurs? That's the question I want to ask you guys. I'll come to Nigel first, and then you guys, Darius and Mike, you come to me and tell me what your thoughts are, and I'll give you mine.
I've got me and Dele have got like a long backstory because I was a day one Dele Alli supporter and defender when he had his spell off bad form. And I always used to think, you know what, this guy's not like a great footballer technically, but in terms of his movement and what he can create off the ball, the space and runs he can make, a lot of the stuff that he doesn't show up that like a casual fan who's not really watching the game can think that he's doing that. So I always thought he became slightly underrated when he was in his bad run of form. But then they reached the point where he just started giving the ball away too easily. And teams kind of adapted to how they were playing us. And I think Mourinho really liked him when he came in, wanted to give him a chance. But I think he sees as well that you're getting to a point where against better opposition, I think we saw again today, there was times where he was losing the ball. I think he tried a rainbow flick earlier. The other game that he played, he really pissed off Mourinho when he lost the ball and he immediately got subbed off. So I think that's the biggest thing that Mourinho doesn't like about him. I think that's another thing he really disliked in Pogba, just a midfielder who doesn't have that level of decision making. And I think I kind of reached the end of my tether with him as well with that. And I think against Marine, they're giving him plenty of time. He's picking his passes, he's looking amazing and good for him. But in terms of, I think us trying to take that next step, and I think in terms of the shape that we're playing anyway, in the direction that the team's going in, I don't see how Dele Alli is kind of coming into that. And I don't actually think he makes us better. Like, as much as we can say we like him, if you saw Dele in the starting lineup, wouldn't you be a bit confused? Or wouldn't you think, how's this working out? I personally wouldn't be over the moon to see him in the team anyway. So,
yeah, like he said, it's for me, that is, again, Dele was given an opportunity. I don't know whether it's an opportunity just for him to go into the shop window, because there's different things coming out from Spurs to say they're not looking to sell Dele Alli, not looking to loan him out. He's an important member of the squad. Did he do anything? Did he do anything wrong in this game, Mike, to suggest to be subbed off?
I think he only got subbed off today just purely to give other people minutes. I don't think he...
Was there not other players though that he could have taken off that probably, you know, given all the headlines and all the news stories surrounding Dele, this is an opportunity for Jose to kind of say to everybody, look, what's coming out of the club, he's right. But it's made more questions than answers for me.
I don't think. I think differently. So I think that the game, when he came off, we was already 5-0 up, weren't we?
Yeah.
So the game was dead, and the game was dead. The game was dead pretty much at 3-0. We were just controlling it, and it was just more like a training match. So I don't think at 5-0 when he's come off, I don't think he can do anything more that would actually prove a point to Mourinho, because 5-0, there's nothing further you can do. So the argument is you could have taken off Jedson, but then if Mourinho's trying to give Jedson, who hasn't played a game for us all season, a fair shout, then maybe it's just worthwhile getting 90 minutes and having him assessed properly just to see whether we do get rid of him early or whether we keep him and persevere. But I thought Dele played. He looked the most liveliest out of all the players on the pitch, I thought. And I know, you have to take it into context that it was against a team in the 8th tier of the English pyramid. But I thought Dele. I thought he was controlling the game. To be fair, I thought everything was going through him, and he looked like the person that was creating the opportunities for us to try and put the ball in the back of the net. So I think I don't think we're going to get rid of. I honestly don't think we'll get rid of him in January. And if anything, I think he's the only player today that would perhaps make Mourinho think twice about playing him more often than what he has done. And with Ali, it depends on the team that we're playing against and how Mourinho sets up. So if it's a game that we're playing in top six and we're playing that counter-attacking style, then that's not going to suit Dele Alli. But if we're playing the teams like your Leeds, teams that we should be dominating in and being more aggressive in terms of our attacking attempt, then I don't see why Dele Alli wouldn't feature or start or come on more often than what he has done. So I'm still in the Dele Alli camp myself.
And I said, I like Dele Alli as a player, but I'm just seeing some of the things that it's almost very contradictory what's happening. I don't know whether or not it's Jose's mind games. Is he still trying to get to him psychologically by showing him that it doesn't matter how good do you play in against Marine, I'm still going to show you that I'm boss and bringing you off. Does Dele have a future at Spurs? A long-term future when I say that?
Under Mourinho, no. But I think Levy would like to keep him at Spurs. I think he probably sees that he could probably get something out of him if Mourinho wasn't there, which makes me think that he might go on loan maybe for a year or 6 months. I don't really see how him and Mourinho can get along after the way that he's treated him. I can't really agree with some of the things that he's done with Ali. And while I do agree with you what you're saying, that Ali has not proved himself at all in the past, what I'd say year or two, even under Poch, he wasn't performing to the level that he was. I still believe that, me personally, I don't believe that Ali will fit in this team regardless, but I still believe that Levy thinks that Ali's got a chance, and that's why I think that he'll be reluctant to sell him, especially knowing that he won't be able to sell him for the full price that he might want to sell him maybe in a post-COVID market. So I think that he would probably want to hold on to him for maybe a year, 2 years longer, see if he can send him on loan. He might shine on loan and he might come back and be rejuvenated, and Jose might not be there, so it could be a completely different story.
But doesn't it in the I guess in the short term, doesn't this cause a little bit of tension, problems within the camp, within the squad, if this type of message, in terms of when I say message, it's been reported clearly that both Spurs, Jose may have said it as well, but certainly he's coming out that's, he's not for sale, we want to keep him. But then the contradictory evidence to that is he has probably his best game, and again, it's against the opposition we're looking at, but he looked decent. He was trying stuff, but then to take him off after, I looked at his face, I just saw his body language, and he looked like, what's going on here? Why am I coming off again? That's what it looked like, and for me, that can't be a good sign if you're going to be looking to keep that player under those circumstances. So, and I'll ask another question. Apart from Alfie Devine, because as I said, if you're a 16-year-old and you come on and you score against what you consider a pub team, and I'm going to say that, and I'll say it with the greatest respect, but 16-year-old playing against them a lot, to score his goal, that's fantastic. But was there anybody else that kind of screamed out to the manager, I need to be starting on Wednesday, I need to be starting on the Prem? Nigel, for you?
I don't think so. There's a couple of moments. I feel like the youngsters maybe lacked a bit of conviction at times. I'm struggling to remember exactly who, but there was a shot that fell to him on the edge of the box. Someone pulled, I think it was
Harvey White.
Harvey White.
And he blasted it over there.
And he kind of shot like he didn't believe in the shot. There was another one where I think Vinicius gets it in the box and he's to his left, and you kind of should be screaming for it. And I felt like there's a bit of still that underdog kind of puppy mentality. So I mean, the youngsters came in, they did a job, but I don't think anyone laid a claim. There was still kind of that we are the young players in this team. I don't think anyone really showed that they were ready to come into the first team as a regular bursting onto the scene or anything like that.
Okay, Darius, anybody that's kind of, as I said, I liked Vinicius today. He took his goals well, took his chances well. He probably could have scored another one towards the end there when he put it to the left of the post. Anybody else that you thought was I like that?
No, I think I agree with you with Vinicius. I think his overall play in most games that he's played in has been good. I mean, obviously Harry Kane has set a level in terms of linking up with his midfielders and playing from deep and creating, but Vinicius does offer that as well. He may not be as clinical as Harry Kane and prolific, but he still offers that. He's a very tall, very strong player. So he's able to get himself around with players from Marine. He can do that against players in the Premier League. I know they're going to be more athletic than that, but I've seen Vinicius play against teams where he's been able to pick up the ball, take a turn, and maybe play a pass or do something else. So I want to see Vinicius get a few more minutes. Obviously, maybe not start the games, but I think if Harry Kane was to get injured, I would feel this game kind of made me feel confident that regardless of what happens, Vinicius will be able to put in a solid performance in replacement of Harry Kane if that ever happened.
Okay, Mike. So apart from Sissoko, your favourite player, was there anybody else that was screaming out, "Yeah, I need to start Wednesday"?
I don't think in terms of starting, but I was impressed with the little lad White in centre midfield. I thought, I mean, he's only 17.
I think so.
He's going to be. I was really impressed with him. I thought that he wanted the ball. He was comfortable in possession. Very rarely did he lose it. I know, again, you have to take it in context that it's against Marine and stuff, but sometimes pressure, regardless of who the opposition is, sometimes pressure can get you because of the occasion on its own. But I thought White only got 90 minutes, didn't he? I think today. I thought he's definitely one for the future. And a lot of these youngsters that came on, Divine, etc., they're not going to be banging on the door anytime soon to get a starting place in the Premier League or even in the later rounds of the FA Cup if we get there. But it's all about giving them that experience of these sort of occasions in the FA Cup games where there is pressure, where they've got to be able to stand up for themselves and be counted for. I thought, as I say, I go back to White again, and I thought I honestly thought he had a very good game. And I hope these youngsters, if we're at a comfortable position in the game like today, I hope these youngsters continue to get more game time in terms of just giving them that experience of playing on the biggest stage. Because they're certainly talented lads. There's no doubt about that.
So you're right. They're very talented, but this is probably the one real opportunity where I don't think you can even question whether the result was in doubt. I know there was a bit of talk from Ian Wright and Alan Shearer at the beginning, the FA Cup, the romance, but it was never going to happen. It was never going to happen. It could have been a little bit different had they scored, but the result for me wasn't in doubt. So I don't know where these other youngsters are going to get opportunities to play, because Jose's clearly made out he wants to win every single game. He wants to win everything that's available for him. And we're in all competitions at this moment in time that we're in. And we still have a chance to win them all. Obviously, we've got a final to look forward to. We've got a fourth round of this to come, third in the league. You know, we still got, opportunities in the Europa when that comes back. So there's a big game on Wednesday now. And I'll ask, again, we're going to wrap up afterwards, but I'll go around and I'll start with you, Darius, about Wednesday. Looking forward to that. If the game goes ahead, is there anything that we can take away from this? I know it's difficult to assess, but is there anything we can take away from this going forward into that game on Wednesday that kind of says to you, yep, we are confident of winning that game? Because again, all games are must wins, but this particular one against one of your rivals in the division at the moment has to be where you should be taking points. I know it's away, but yeah, your thoughts on the Villa game?
I think that is the case as well. I think we have to look at them as real proper top four rivals. I mean, Villa are doing well. I mean, you watch Villa, they look like they play good football. They've got one of the best players in the league at the moment in Jack Grealish, and they've got good players around him now. So Villa look like a cohesive team, and I think we just need to show the same professionalism that we've showed in this game. I mean, we're going to have to bring our performances up even more because Villa aren't going to be like Marine, are they? But I think showing that professionalism and almost respect to that team, because I know that Villa are going to really give us a challenge. I mean, they stood up to Man United, and Man United have been very good this season. So I think we're going to have to really, really be alert and make sure that every player on the bench and starting is ready to fight for that game, because it's going to be a very, very difficult game. I'm expecting maybe even draws. Like, I'm looking at the game and I'm thinking a draw might be something. Villa Park away might be something that you might want to take in this point of the season. So yeah, it's just staying focused and making sure that we don't lose our focus against Villa.
Sure. Nigel, are you confident on Wednesday?
I feel like when we were talking earlier to start the thing, and Mike said the first 15 minutes, you were kind of thinking, could this happen? I feel like at the moment, like, we're not 100% confident as Spurs fans. I don't feel like we go into games thinking we're going to batter a team or anything like that as much as earlier in the season. But I still think we are the favourites. Maybe that's like a 55-45% split right now for us to get the win. So I do think, because a lot of the time our quality does shine through just off the fact that we have Kane and Son. And if there's any big positive we can take is that they didn't play. Our players are rested. Good vibes in the camp. So hopefully we should go in there with some kind of momentum and a chance at taking that game. So I personally think that we will come out with the 3 points.
Cool, that's good. As I said, the Villa played a lot of their youngsters when they played Liverpool. It was a lot of under 23s,
all of them,
because of the COVID situation. So that might play into our hands. So just the final point from you then, Mike, with regards to Wednesday, 3 points on Wednesday, do you think?
Yeah, I think, I mean, if we go back to that Man United game, if they had a better striker, they probably would have won that game. But I put that down to also the fact that Man United's defence isn't as strong as ours. Defensively, I don't see many units in the Premier League that are better than us defensively. And on that basis, I don't think we'll give them as many opportunities than perhaps Man United did when they played them and lost 2-1. I think that Aston Villa's defence are vulnerable to conceding. And on that basis, I think we'll get the 3 points. I think we'll win 2-0. I'm quite confident. But I don't think the game will go ahead. So, and that's probably why the likes of Toby probably got. Did Toby get 90 minutes today?
No, he came off
45.
Oh, did he come off for 45? Oh, there you go. I didn't even notice that he came off. But I mean, it's good that Toby and Eric Dyer are fit and available. So I expect them to start. But yeah, I honestly don't think the game will go ahead though.
There was no Dyer, there was no Hojbjerg, there was no Kane. Ones you would expect to be starting.
Ndombele as well.
No Ndombele. He was on the bench though. Son was on the bench. So none of those players started the game. None of those players were really involved. So I'm expecting, if the game goes ahead, because there's pressure on teams to play if they can field a certain amount of players. But I'm not sure, as you said, Mike, whether or not it will go ahead. I think the game was supposed to be Tuesday and it's now been moved to Wednesday. I don't know if that's just a coincidence with regard to the COVID thing. But anyway, saying that, I'm still confident, regardless of whether Villa put out their strongest team or not, I'm still confident that we'll win that game. And the reason that the confidence I get from that is just I'm beginning to see a little bit more cohesiveness, if that's the right phrase, from some of the starting players. And what I mean by that is you've got probably a settled back two now in terms of Alderweireld and Dyer, although he's swapped in Alderweireld a couple times. But that midfield with Hojbjerg in there, it all depends on if someone like Winks is going to make an appearance or it's going to be Sissoko. Apart from that, I think we all kind of know the best as start 11 for us. So I think our start 11, when we put that down on paper, is better than Villa's. You have to watch out for their main threat, which is going to be Jack Grealish. They've got other players in there that do, need to be looked at. But if you can keep him out of the game, you can deal with him if he's playing. But if he's not, I don't see anything other than a Spurs win. So yeah, let's look forward to that game. Well, obviously we do the preview and the post-match for that game on Wednesday. Thank you guys for being on today. And so like, subscribe, share, comment to all those viewers watching. Thank you again for watching. It's been a pleasure to see the Spurs progress into the fourth round, although it was against limited opposition. All the rest of it would be interesting to see who we get next round. Like, subscribe, share, comment as per usual. Thanks again, guys. See you again soon. Take care.
Cheers.